If you ask a Brit what Walmart is, most will answer, it's probably just a Tesco-style supermarket. But when they actually step inside, all familiar definitions start to become meaningless.
We were just about to buy some meat for a barbecue tonight, and I found bikes. You can buy bikes as well in here.
America, why oh why have you got so many cereal choices? It's unreal.
13 pack of donuts. Why was 5 not enough? Asda do 5. These men have 13.
Wow. Yep. That is the size of ice cream you can buy. You don't need that much.
You see, almost all British tourists have a similar reaction, ranging from surprise, confusion, to laughter, because they can't believe their eyes. Not because Walmart is too big, but because it completely breaks the concept of a supermarket they once knew. So what is it inside Walmart that makes them constantly exclaim, "This definitely doesn't exist in England"? And why does just one trip to the supermarket make them understand so much more about America? Let's explore together.
Ich will essen alles. Oh mein Gott, Tomaten! Oh my God.
So you like shopping in America a lot better, honey? We've already got 3 items.
Is it not crazy? I love it. This is so insane. Like, you can feel like...
It's a little bag of popcorn for as long as an adult's arm.
What?
The size of an adult's arm.
There is a very interesting detail that repeats in almost every video of British tourists. No one walks into Walmart with the mindset of being enlightened. They simply thought, this is probably just like Tesco or Asda, just a bit bigger. But just a few minutes later, everyone's faces went from calm to bewildered.
Bikes. You can buy bikes as well in here.
Man, this 100-inch ain't no joke, bro. Look at this. Look how big this thing is. Dude. Well, that's an 85. Look at this 100, bro.
A person had just pushed the cart a few meters when they stopped. Wait a minute. Do they sell bicycles here too? Take a few more steps. Oh, even the TV? Then there's the toy section, clothing section, furniture, camping gear, bicycle repair tools, pharmacy. Some people even laughed out loud and said, in England, this place would have to be 5 or 6 different stores. And that's what really shocks them, not just because Walmart is big. Just think about it. In England, if you want to buy groceries, get a new TV, check out bikes for your child, and pick up some gardening supplies over the weekend, chances are you'll have to drive to multiple different locations. Each store has its own specific function. That's very normal. But Walmart follows a completely different philosophy. They don't want you to just stop by to buy milk or bread. They want you to be able to meet almost all your needs in one stop. That's why many British tourists keep saying a very nice phrase, you can buy anything at Walmart.
What is in here?
What's not in here, honestly?
Exactly.
Anything you'd ever need, it's here at Walmart.
Like a ramen.
Why do Europeans love Walmart so much? I'll tell you. As a European, you have heard about this place your whole life. It's one of those places that you know it's real, but it feels like mythical. It's like Route 66 or Times Square or even like a yellow school bus. You know they exist, but they're only part of a version of the US that you've seen on TV and grown up with. And then one day you walk through the doors to Walmart, and that's how you know you're in the US.
It may sound a bit exaggerated, but the more you watch their reactions, the more you realize that statement is not an exaggeration at all. What's even more interesting is that Americans consider all of this normal. They walk past the bike area without even bothering to look back. TVs lined up in rows are nothing surprising. And for the guests from England, every turn seems like opening another secret room. That is the appeal of these reaction videos. We don't look at Walmart through the eyes of Americans, but through the curious eyes of those experiencing it for the first time. Things that are too familiar suddenly become novel, and it is this contrast that makes the video captivating. If I had to describe Walmart in one sentence, perhaps supermarket wouldn't be enough. It resembles more of a retail ecosystem, a place where grocery stores, electronics, fashion, toys, sports, and household goods coexist under one roof. This one-stop shopping model has completely changed the expectations of many international tourists. And if you enjoy exploring the interesting differences between America and the rest of the world through the perspectives of international travelers, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you won't miss the next videos. But trust me, what they just saw is only the beginning. Because after accepting that Walmart is not just a supermarket, the British tourists discovered something even more unbelievable. Here, not only is everything sold, but almost everything is of gigantic size. After getting over the initial shock that Walmart is not just a supermarket, British tourists began to notice something even more interesting. It's not just that there are more items, but almost everything here is bigger.
Who needs these many crackers? What is going on, America? Who? First of all, no. No.
1.26 kilos of pizza.
It's actually pretty.
Is it not crazy? I love it. This is so insane. Like, you can feel like...
This is also the moment when the famous saying, "everything is bigger in America," is no longer just an internet joke, but appears right before their eyes. But that's just the beginning. There are bottles of iced tea, nearly 4 liters, bags of sugar as big as rice sacks, loaves of bread nearly the length of an arm, and cereal boxes so large that some jokingly say they look like pet food bags rather than breakfast food.
Are they this big back home?
Not this big. We do have big sweet potatoes,
So
but
how do you know if this
not
is
that-
actually good?
What do you mean? I
it's so
can't tell if
big.
it's good, but I know it's a sweet potato.
This is ridiculous.
Hey!
What we need?
So these ones are what? These ones are giant sweet potatoes.
I don't know what these are.
But they look the same.
I don't know what these
Like
are.
what you're having and that, isn't it the same thing?
So I don't know.
Just looking for a quick drink, and I realized, everything in this country is supersized. You guys know about the naked drinks in the UK. Look at the size of this. My goodness. Bro, even the fruit bags, man. Just look at this. My God, everything's really supersized.
Those reactions are very funny, but if you pay close attention, you'll see they are not laughing because of the size. They laugh because everything is far beyond their familiar experience. In England and many European countries, people often visit the supermarket multiple times a week. Buy only what you need. The houses are also smaller, the refrigerators are moderate, and the storage spaces are not too large, so food is often packaged in just the right sizes. Meanwhile, many American families have the habit of shopping weekly or even bi-weekly or longer. They drive to the supermarket, fill the trunk, and bring it all home in one go. Therefore, the appearance of a double-sized cereal box or a tray of 60 eggs on the shelf is not necessarily to impress, but simply to fit the lifestyle of many families. That's what I like most about these reaction videos. At first, the tourists only saw a huge block of cheese. But the more we watch, the more we understand that behind that size is a completely different way of life. It's not that Americans necessarily eat more. It's not that they like everything to be big for the sake of being grand. Simply put, they tend to buy less often, but buy more each time. And when you understand that, many details in Walmart suddenly make sense.
Hey, foreigners coming to America, going to Costco and seeing gallon jugs of milk and big containers of food, big boxes and big bags of popcorn. You know why? Because we have to drive to the market and we only do it once a week. We drive to the market because it might be 30, 40 minutes away from our house. So we have to stock up. And with the price of gas, you don't want to go to the market more than once a week. And you stock up and you don't drink that whole gallon of milk in one day. It's usually for a big family, or a gallon of milk can last a person 2-3 weeks if they have a good, strong refrigerator.
Perhaps that's why every time a tourist exclaims, "Why is everything so huge?" many American viewers below comment, "I've lived here my whole life and never thought about that." That is the allure of an outsider's perspective. They help us look at familiar things with a completely new perspective. If you find it interesting so far, take a second to like the video. Your support is the motivation for me to continue searching for and analyzing these very ordinary yet extremely fascinating cultural stories. But trust me, the size is not the biggest shock, because just a few minutes later, the British tourists found themselves in an even more awkward situation. Not because Walmart had too few options, but because there were so many that they didn't know which one to choose.
In Walmart? Should not be that colour. A lot of peanut butter. That's what I'm talking about.
Have you ever had Little Debbie?
Never even heard of her. My favourite. Should have looked into these. Crazy.
Final thoughts on Walmart?
Need more of them in England.
If in the previous part, the British tourists were amazed by the size of everything, then in this part, they encountered an even more interesting shock. Not because Walmart lacks items, but because there are too many to choose from. It sounds strange. Who doesn't like having more choices, right? But when I watched their reactions, I realized something very interesting. Too many choices leave tourists dizzy. A French tourist stood in front of the bakery counter for quite a while and then burst out laughing. Here, I could spend 2 hours and still not have chosen a loaf of bread. It sounds like a joke, but in reality, it's a very true feeling. Not to mention, even toilet paper has too many options. A few more steps and you'll reach the sauce section. Dozens of types of BBQ sauce, ranch, chipotle, mostaza con meal, Durazno bourbon, Carolina Gold. Each type has many different brands. Perhaps their feeling at this moment is no longer, wow, so many anymore, but rather, which one should I choose? That's something I find very interesting, and it's also something that few videos about Walmart mention. People often think that the more choices, the better. But in reality, beyond a certain threshold, too many choices make it harder for us to decide. Have you ever opened Netflix and spent half an hour just choosing a movie? Or open a food delivery app, scroll through dozens of restaurants, and end up ordering the same familiar dish? Walmart also creates a similar feeling. Not because of a lack of products, but because there are too many products. In England, a cereal shelf might only have a few familiar brands. At Walmart, just one type of food can have dozens, even hundreds of different variations. That makes the tourists both delighted and a bit confused. And I think this is the major difference between Walmart and many supermarkets they have known. Walmart doesn't just sell products. They sell the feeling that you always have one more option. That's why so many people walk in just to buy a few essentials, but then get curious and check out another shelf, then another section. And in the end, they push a full cart without even realizing it. Sounds familiar? If you've ever had an experience like that, leave a comment about which item accidentally came home with you, even though you initially had no intention of buying it. I believe everyone has experienced something like that at least once. But the interesting thing is, for British tourists, this overwhelming feeling does not bother them at all. On the contrary, it feels like the sensation of a child stepping into a toy store for the first time. Each shelf has something new to discover, and each product tells a different story about life in America. And just when they started getting used to Walmart having too many choices, another surprise appeared. They kept pointing at the items and saying, "Wait a minute, does this really exist in real life? I thought I only saw it in movies." I only saw it in movies. That was also the moment the journey of exploring Walmart shifted from amazement at its scale to discovering products deeply marked by American culture. At this point, the reaction videos began to shift to a very joyful atmosphere. because after being surprised by the scale and quantity of the products, the British tourists fell into a very special feeling. That is the feeling. Oh, it turns out this thing really exists in real life. There was a guy who just walked past the cereal aisle and shouted as if he had met an old friend. Lucky Charms, Fruity Pebbles, Reese's Puffs. Names that he had only seen in American movies, cartoons, or YouTube videos before. Another girl stood in front of the Pop-Tarts shelf, almost unsure of where to look first. Strawberry, blueberry, cinnamon, chocolate chip, cinnamon roll. So many that she could only laugh and say, "I thought these things only existed on TV." And I believe many of us have felt that way too. There are some items that, even if you have never eaten them, you can immediately recognize just by looking at them. Not because I bought them, but because they have appeared too much in Hollywood movies, sitcoms, commercials, or videos by American YouTubers. Lucky Charms, Pop-Tarts, Arizona Tea, Reese's, Monster. It's not just food or drink. They have almost become a part of American pop culture. There was a part I watched that made me laugh for a long time. An English tourist discovered the exact Chipotle Southwest sauce from Subway being sold separately on the shelf. He picked up the bottle of sauce, his eyes lit up, and said, "Unbelievable! This is the exact sauce I always order when eating at Subway. I guess I'll have to buy 10 bottles to take home." That was a very ordinary moment, but extremely interesting, because sometimes what makes people happy on a trip is not an expensive item, but finding a flavor they once loved or a product they only knew through a screen. This also explains why many tourists enter Walmart with the intention of shopping, but end up spending most of their time just browsing. They don't just buy products. They are checking in with symbols of American culture. If you pay attention, Hollywood, Netflix, and TikTok have been doing something very special for many years. They bring the image of America to the whole world. But that was still just a two-dimensional image. Only when you step into Walmart do the things that used to be on the screen suddenly become very real. You no longer see Lucky Charms on TV. You can hold that cereal box in your hand. You no longer see Arizona Tea in a high school movie. You can pop the cap and drink it right in the parking lot. That feeling is like stepping into the very scenes of the movies I used to watch as a child. Perhaps that's why many tourists laugh throughout the trip, not because Walmart tries to create something special, but because each shelf evokes a familiar memory nurtured through movies and popular culture. I still really like a comment from a viewer under these videos. Walmart is like a museum of modern America. It sounds funny, but upon reflection, it's quite true. Taking a stroll around Walmart, you don't just see products. You will also see brands, foods, and images that have accompanied many generations of Americans and gradually spread around the world. If you also realize that you knew many American items through movies before seeing them in real life, please like the video. Who knows, in the comments section, we might discover that we grew up with the same movies and foods. But after all those surprises, there is still one thing that leaves British tourists speechless once again. Not because the items were too strange, but because the prices of many products are much lower than they expected. That is the next shock waiting for them ahead. After nearly an hour walking from the food section to clothing, from bicycles to electronics, many thought that British tourists must be used to Walmart always bringing surprises. But no, the biggest shock appeared in the least expected place. The price tags. This guy walked through the stalls and checked the prices. Most of them are cheaper and more abundant than in European supermarkets. Then someone looked at the 3-inch TV priced at just over $150 and kept asking, "How can it be so cheap?" That's not the kind of reaction staged for a video. You can see they are really trying to calculate in their heads. If converted to pounds, how much would it be? If bought in the homeland, what would the price be? Not just TVs. A bicycle for just over $70. Clothes also made many people comment that they were significantly softer compared to what they were used to seeing in England. And that moment is what I find interesting. From the beginning of the video until now, they have always been surprised by how much Walmart has. But at this point, the question shifts to, how can a place that sells everything have so many items at such competitive prices? Of course, not every item in Walmart is cheaper than every place else, and prices also depend on each region, each time period, or each promotional program. But what tourists clearly perceive is that Walmart has the ability to bring many popular items to consumers at prices that make them stop and look a second time. The reason is not too hard to understand. Walmart serves a huge number of customers every day. When selling on a very large scale, they can import goods in bulk, optimize transportation, and distribute them across a vast network of stores. Those factors help many common products have very competitive prices. To put it simply, if a store sells 1,000 TVs, while a system sells millions, the operation and cost per product will be very different. That's why Americans often walk past the electronics section without being too surprised. As for the guests from England, they keep saying every few minutes, "If it were in my country, the price wouldn't be like this." The interesting thing is that they don't just look at the numbers, they start relating it to their own lives. If I lived in America, I might buy this one too. This item would probably be much more expensive in England. Those very ordinary remarks made the Walmart tour suddenly feel much more relatable. It's no longer about watching others react, but about putting ourselves in their shoes and imagining if we were standing in front of those shelves, would we be surprised in the same way? If you've ever had the experience of looking at a price list in another country and immediately having to pull out your phone to convert it, please hit subscribe to join the channel. Such small differences sometimes tell us more interesting things about life in each country than any travel book. But even after getting used to the scale, products, and prices, British tourists still encounter a series of small details that make them laugh. The things that Americans hardly notice are precisely what international visitors remember the most. And that will be the most interesting part of this Walmart exploration journey. What I like most in all these reaction videos is not the cheap TV, nor the block of cheese weighing over 2 kilograms, but rather the very small details. So small that Americans pass by every day without even noticing. But for a British tourist, they became the most memorable moments of the entire trip. For example, shopping cart. A British guy stood in front of the row of shopping carts and asked very innocently, "Oh, you just take them? No need to put in a coin?" It sounds simple, but in the UK, many supermarkets require customers to insert a coin to unlock the shopping cart and then get it back when they return the cart. So, the fact that he could just push the cart away immediately really surprised him. Then someone picked up a carton of yogurt and stared at it for a long time. Another person stopped in front of the vegetable stand and asked, "What is yam?" Some people look at the still green bananas and are puzzled. Are they selling unripe bananas? Or a tourist discovers the Crest toothpaste that he finds very hard to get back home, immediately putting a few boxes into his cart as if he had just found a treasure. Some people were even surprised that a Walmart store they visited did not support contactless payment, while they assumed that it must be available every place. If you only look at each individual detail, you might think, "It's no big deal." Right. Those are all very small matters. But it is precisely those small things that create the differences between cultures. Because the most interesting part of traveling is not always about admiring famous buildings or prominent landmarks. Sometimes, just taking a stroll in a supermarket can help you understand a lot about how a country operates and how the people there live their daily lives. What do they eat? How do they shop? How do they prioritize convenience? And what they consider normal can be completely new to someone from a different place. That's also why I really enjoy watching videos like this. They don't try to prove which side is better or which side is more interesting. They simply remind us that when we look at life through the eyes of a stranger, familiar things suddenly become much more worth exploring. If you also enjoy everyday stories that reflect a lot about culture and life like this, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to join the channel. Every week, I will continue to bring interesting perspectives on America through the experiences of international travelers. And after all those humorous reactions, perhaps the most memorable thing is not how many items Walmart sells, but that just one trip to the supermarket is enough to completely change the way many British tourists view America. That's also what I want to share in the conclusion of the video. Perhaps the most interesting thing after all these reaction videos is not how big Walmart is, how many items it sells, or how huge its food packages are. But just stepping into a supermarket, the British tourist saw a whole part of American culture. From shopping habits, consumption patterns, to things that are very normal for Americans but extremely novel for foreigners. And what about you? If you step into a Walmart for the first time, what would surprise you the most? Is it the fact that a supermarket can sell almost everything, products you've only seen in movies, or the gigantic packages that are quintessentially American? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. I would love to read everyone's opinions. If you love videos exploring America from the perspective of international travelers, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next interesting stories. This video is made for the purpose of sharing information, entertainment, and discussing cultural differences based on publicly recorded experiences of travelers. The content reflects the perspectives and feelings of each individual, without aiming to generalize, evaluate, or compare superiority or inferiority between any country, culture, or community. All information should be approached with an open mind and respect for differences. Thank you for taking the time to watch. See you in the next video.